Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to go over this rifle right here. This is the LWRC M6-IC DI with the M-LOK rail. So, reason why I say M-LOK rail is because they do offer two different variants, one M-LOK and one with their proprietary rail system. I went this way because everything's moving to M-LOK, so it's easier to have M-LOK compatibility, and two, it was essentially the only one that was available. So even though I do like the aesthetic of their proprietary rail. So I'm going to cover the rifle, the attachments, and then my overall thoughts on it. So the box that it comes in is just a regular cardboard box that is branded LWRC. And then inside the box comes the rifle, 1P mag, a chamber flag, and your product manual. So, very bare bones, but that's okay because I'd rather than put the money into the product than into the packaging. Moving forward, we're going to start from front and work our way to the back. Up front here, we have a standard A2 flash hider, and I see no reason to change it unless you prefer something else. Preferably you prefer comps or you prefer muzzle brakes, but as far as doing its job, the A2 is going to work just fine, and I see no reason to change it, so therefore I will not change it on my rifle. It does seem to be nitrided to mil-spec standard, so that's good. Moving on back is their barrel. Now they make their barrels in-house. They do have a hammer forged machine, and this is their 16.1 inch cold hammer forged barrel. It has 6 grooves. That is 1-7 right hand twist made of 41V45 chromoly vanadium steel. That is commonly referred to as machine gun steel, especially when you refer to FM products. When they say machine gun steel, that their barrels are made of machine gun steel, is 41V45 chromoly vanadium. So it's a really high quality barrel, and it is a mil-spec barrel. Essentially, the components or the material is mil-spec. As you can see, it is spiral fluted. Spiral fluted does two things. One, it aids in the reduction of overall weight, especially in the barrel, and the claim is that it can reduce the barrel weight of up to 20%, and I'm going to assume that that depends on the barrel length itself. And two, it aids in cooling. Having these fluted channels allow air to move through them and help cool down the barrel faster than what a heavy barrel would take to cool down, and this is a heavy barrel. It does have an M4 barrel extension that it's attached to with extended feed ramps, and the feed ramps are nickel boron coated, so you're going to get smooth, reliable feeding of all types of ammunition. And to top it off, the barrel is 1/2x28 threaded, so you can use any muzzle device that your heart desires here in the States. Moving back is the gas block. The gas block is also made in-house by them and is also Nicor treated like the barrel is. Now, to cover Nicor treating is a salt bath nitriding that permeates the metal and hardens the surface level of the metal, and it also aids in corrosion resistance on top of extending longevity of the metal. So they say that these barrels will last 20,000 rounds before you see degradation in accuracy. I can't attest to that, as I haven't hit 20,000 rounds, but at 10,000 rounds I'm still shooting MOA out of my other LWRC, which has the same type of barrel, so I have no reason to believe this will be otherwise. And I can personally attest to the corrosion resistance, as I typically don't clean my stuff immediately after returning from a class. I typically just throw it in the safe, and then when I feel like it, I get to it. Attached to the gas block is the mid-length gas tube, which is also Nicor treated, so that's going to aid in longevity and corrosion resistance as well. Here we have their M-LOK rail. Their M-LOK rail is very nice. You have M-LOKs at 7 of the 8 positions. You know, obviously you have your 1913 Picatinny up top, and then all the other positions are M-LOK, which stagger. And I like the M-LOK position because it gives you a lot more options for mounting and real estate for other stuff. So I think it's very, very well done. If you measure from where the receiver would traditionally end to here, it is 12 inches as far as the rail length, but as you can tell, it actually doesn't start until right here, and that's because they have a mono forge upper. But I'll get to that in a second. Moving back to this rail, you can see at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position is QD attachments, and I think that was really well done. Rather than like the proprietary system that they have, their proprietary rail, you have a QD attachment that using screws gets mounted, so it protrudes quite a bit. This only protrudes, I would say, about 3/16 of an inch all around, so it's really low profile, and it's beveled, so it's really, really nice. I thought that was a neat touch, and essentially I thought it was done very well. Moving on back, you have their mono forge upper, as you can see here. So I'll give you a look on the other side. The mono forge upper is marked LWRC International, ICDI 5.56 millimeter, and underneath that says made in the USA. And the upper has a mil-spec ejection port cover, standard case deflector, and forward assist. It also is housing their proprietary BCG and their own charging handle. So just to cover these real quick, this is their charging handle. It's done very nice. It's very robust, as you can see, and it mimics their like a typical charger as far as the body's concerned, but the latches are done differently. So you have dual latches, which makes it ambidextrous, and they're rounded off to prevent snagging. And you also have some knurling here to increase grip area and grip overall. But the really neat thing about this is that it works on a rack and pinion system. So it doesn't matter if you use this side or this side. One-handed manipulation is going to unlock that latch. You have oversized cam pins here, which are going to aid in reliability. I have heard of people shearing these pins, on their standard ones. I've never seen it personally firsthand, but I'm sure that it is possible, and I do not doubt that it has happened, especially in the military, especially with Marines. Marines will break everything and anything. But I like this, and being it with the rack and pinion design, it does have a stronger spring, so you do have to be more deliberate in the way you charge this handle, and I like that because along with the radius latches, that having a stronger spring is going to aid in or reduce the possibility of snagging equipment and pulling your bolt out of battery. Speaking of the bolt, this is their bolt. As you can see, it's nickel boron coated. And first thing you'll notice is that there is no, a traditional gas key, whereas a traditional gas key will be put in place with grade 8 bolts and then staked. This is actually milled in, as you can see, and then this tube extension is actually threaded, and if you look up top, you'll have timing marks. Time it, and then you'll put your roll pin through, and that'll basically bomb-proof that thing. Very, very nice. I do like how they flatten these sections out here, and that'll give dirt and debris a place to go, as well as also providing sand cuts. As you can see, that recessed area on both sides, top and bottom, that gives sand and dirt and debris an area to work its way out of the receiver. All the other stuff are mil-spec, so it's a mil-spec bolt, and they are high pressure tested, MPI, and all that stuff. So it's not their enhanced one where you have a fully supported face or the lobster tail extractor, but it is done really well. I don't know what the material is, but it states it's mil spec, so I'm assuming that it's 158 Carpenter steel, which is going to be just fine for civilian use and semi-auto use. I don't think that's going to be a problem. So I'll put this back together and we'll move on to the lower. So the lower is fully ambidextrous. As you can see here, you got an ambi safety selector, so safe, semi, and if you're one of those very fortunate people that can afford and have an auto sear, you can also run auto. But you'll see there's a bolt catch and release here, which actually works as a bolt catch and release, where some companies it just works as a bolt release. So as you can see, you just press down and it locks and then release. On the left side, you still have that ambi selector, and the selector is nice because on your firing side, it doesn't dig into your finger. You can feel that it's there, but it doesn't dig in at all. You have your standard ping pong paddle, your bolt catch and release, and then you have your ambi mag release, which works really, really nice. And I think this is probably one of the best, if not the best, ambi lower on the market. As you'll see on the left side of the magwell, you'll have more markings, so it'll be LWRC International, M6-IC. You'll have an ID code, UID code, and then obviously your serial number, and underneath it says 5.56 millimeter NATO because it is chambered in 5.56 NATO. And then lastly, where it was manufactured, so Cambridge, Maryland. Inside the lower, you have their trigger. Their trigger is the Enhanced Fire Control Group. Essentially, it is a nickel Teflon coated mil-spec trigger, and they claim that it's 5.5 to 8.5 pounds, which is pretty wide, pretty wide spec there. But for me, putting it on my trigger gauge, it was coming out at 5.3 pounds consistently, and it is very nice. I'm not a big fan of mil-spec triggers to begin with, but this one's really nice, and I personally don't see any reason to change it out. Underneath, you'll see it's a branded LWRC trigger guard, which is really nice. And then to round out the lower receiver is their own pistol grip. Now their pistol grip is, I wasn't sure if I was going to even keep it on here when I first saw it because I personally do not like rubber grips. However, this one, it's all plastic, and then you have the front and rear where your palm and your fingers go that are gripped. And if you can make out these the texture there, it's like a snakeskin pattern, which is really nice, man. It really does feel good. It is thin, like you don't have a swell like you would normally on, like, say, a Myad grip, Magpul Maya grip or something. So if you have really, really large hands, like you're 6'2" or taller, you would have some issues, you know, feeling like this may be a little bit small. But for me, I mean, I have big palms, but not so long fingers like you would see on somebody that's, you know, 6 foot or taller. But it feels very nice in the hand, and I can hold it very well, and this isn't going anywhere. I like it, and I like how it has a compartment, and if you can see this little spot, I feel like that's a perfect spot to put in a spare bolt. So that's pretty cool. And then, you know, some other spots there, which is really nice. And inside here there is a AccuEdge. I think they make their own little version of it, so it's an AccuEdge, and even without the AccuEdge it locks up real tight, but the AccuEdge just gives it a little bit of insurance there. Moving on back, you have a standard mil-spec end plate. Some people may like that, some people may not. I don't care about it because I never attach anything there. And then you have your standard mil-spec castle nut, which is staked. So you can see that right there, staked. And then this is a mil-spec receiver extension or buffer tube, however you want to refer to it. It is a 6-position buffer tube with no markings. And on the inside is a mil-spec buffer spring and an H2 buffer. H2 buffer is going to aid in softer recoil impulse, and if you do run this full auto at some point, you're going to need a H2 buffer to make it run reliably. So moving on back to round out the rifle itself is their stock, and it's their compact stock. Kind of looks a little bit like a cross between one of the LWRC stocks and a B5 Bravo stock. And I will say that the cheek weld, it's got somewhat of a triangular shape to it, but it's not as pronounced as the B5 SOP mod stock. It's more, it's less protruding like the B5 Bravo stock, which doesn't have the battery compartments, which I honestly prefer. So I like the cheek weld better on this. I like the cheek weld, and when you shoulder it feels really good because of this small footprint, and I feel like that'll work, especially when you're running body armor or plate carriers or anything like that. You can still get that into your shoulder, the pocket of your shoulder, and it is very comfortable. It's not real wide. It tapers down. Let's see if I get this on camera. So you can see it's wider here, but then tapers down, which is nice. But I will say, initially, I hated this stock. When I first took it out of the box, it rattled, and it was really loose, and I did not like it. It pissed me off because I felt like I expected more from LWRC, especially an LWRC product that they make. I expected a lot more from that. That being said, I have ran into this problem before, so I do have a little fix for it. And for those of you who served will know what I mean by hook and loop tape. But for those of you who never served and don't understand what hook and loop tape is, it's basically, it's the same thing as Velcro. So so Velcro, you got the hard hook side, and on the soft side, it's just like a soft material that it hooks into. And I take the soft side and I'll put a small strip here. I'll show you. So I'll put a small strip, probably comes back to like right here, and I shave off almost all of that, and then that takes up that slop, and it makes it actually pretty tough, and it doesn't go anywhere. You don't get all that movement anymore. It doesn't rattle and make all types of noise. So initially I hated the stock, but when I went to the range and after I made my little correction and went to the range, I felt like it was actually a really nice stock. I think that they just dropped the ball on the inner diameter, and I hope that they fix it in the future, but otherwise it is still a very nice stock. And if you wanted to maintain this stock, you can do a little fix like that. But it works very well, and I'm still up in the air on whether I'm going to keep it on here, but if not, I'll probably go to the BCM Mod 0 or B5's Bravo stock, which I really like too. So moving on to attachments, right? So clearly we have a white light, which is one of the most important things you can have. So obviously you need sights, light, and sling. And I say that in that order. Slings are really important, but I don't think they're life-saving or life-taking equipment, so to speak. So obviously you need a sight, because without sights you can't do anything with your rifle. So a pair of good iron sights. Anybody who gets into firearms, first thing I always tell them to do is to learn iron sights, get proficient with them, and then move on to an actual sighting system, whether it be a red dot, reflex, hollow sight, LVPO, whatever the case may be. But learn iron sights, because that's the foundation of shooting, and if that optic ever goes down, that's what you'll be utilizing. But a white light is the second most important, and that's because in low light situations you need to identify your target. The last thing you want to do is shoot somebody that's not supposed to be shot in a defensive situation or a supposed defensive situation, because once you take a life you can't take it back, right? So here I have a Streamlight HLX, and the HLX here is not the regular HLX weapon that has the built-in mount. This is the one without the mount, and the reason why I do that is so that I can use mounts like this Odin Works 1-inch M-Lock flashlight mount, and I can mount it at the 45-degree position. I like that 45-degree position because it pulls in the overall width of the rifle, so you're not sticking out real far. Also, you don't have to worry about, with it being on your body side, catching onto equipment or anything like that. So plus, as I'll demonstrate here. If you're traditional C-clamp, whatever, if you have to go to 3 o'clock flashlight, you have to break your grip and then change your body mechanics. And if you do that at home, you'll feel your forearm get tight towards the bottom, and now you're straining that muscle. Whereas here, all I got to do is bring over my thumb, and then I can actuate that light, no problem. And I'm not changing my body mechanics. So that's why that's like that. Moving on back is an Edgar Sherman design sling, which I like them a lot. I was at my local FFL, Roll Call Firearms, and they are out of Scranton. They used to be in Duryea, Pennsylvania. Now they're just outside of Scranton. Very good people. But while I was there, I saw the sling, did some information on it. I think it was like $40, $45. Decided to give it a try. I like it because it's not very wide. And for people who are like me, who don't have a neck, you have a thin sling like this that doesn't rub in and dig into your neck. There's ways to mitigate that. If you're wearing a collared shirt, you can pop your collar. But if you don't, this is the way to go. They didn't come with attachments, so I went ahead and got 2 Magpul QD attachments. They are a staple in the game, and there's no reason to go otherwise. Plus, they had them there on hand. Moving on back is my Optic. This is my primary arms 1-8 by 24 first focal plane with the Raptor reticle. Reason why, or there's a couple reasons why I went with this reticle, with this Optic. One, the magnification range. On one, it's almost true 1 power. Then you have your 1-8 range, so you can magnify however you need be, and you can actually identify targets out at range, which is really nice because you could tell what you're going to walk into if you're heading in that direction, or you can avoid, unwanted. You can avoid unwanted confrontation, especially if this is in a shit hit the fan scenario, or second Civil War, or whatever it is. It serves its purpose. Second thing is on 1 power, because it's first focal plane and it has like a donut of death almost. On 1 power, you can use it kind of like a red dot, or like an EOTech with the 65 MOA circle, and you use it as a donut of death, just bracket your target at close range. So I can use that like that. Third reason is when I magnify, our first focal plane will allow me to range my targets at any magnification, and the reticle in it is really well done. So you have a segmented outer circle, which it pretty much looks like a horseshoe. In the center of it is a chevron like this, and then you have vertical stadia with 3 horizontal. So everything 300 and in, you use your chevron, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 are your stadias, your horizontal stadias, and those basically you bracket a person with approximately 18-inch wide shoulders, and that'll tell you their approximate range. And once you figure that out, you just pretty much hold and pull the trigger, and you'll be able to engage those targets out fairly accurately at distance without almost no thinking. Once you understand how that works, it takes the thinking out of it. So it's very fast and practical, in my opinion. And lastly, I watched a review with Grantham where he severely abused 1-6 Raptor, which I actually have one of those, and it took everything he threw at it and it kept on going. And I figured if it can handle that, it's going to handle anything that I may come across in a civilian capacity, whether it be defending my country on U.S. ground, or defending my family and myself in a home invasion situation. So this is going to handle everything that I throw out of it, or at it, from a civilian standpoint. And the mount that it's in is an ADE mount. Now, some people might actually recognize this mount. This mount was actually showcased a couple years ago at SHOT Show by Primary Arms as their ECS lineup, or their Extreme Clamping System, a lineup of scope mounts. And for whatever reason, they never dropped it. I did actually reach out to Primary Arms, and the one individual said that he didn't know why they they decided to go with a different design, but that he, from testing, was really excited about it because it held up really, really well during testing, and also from an aesthetic point, it's really nice. And these three here, which screw in from the other side, combine a 6,500 foot-pounds of clamping force, and you'll actually, as stated by Primary Arms, you will actually ruin your upper receiver before you ruin the mount with those screws. So I figured I'll give it a shot. I came across it on Amazon, and they were like $48 a piece, so I picked up two. I think that they do really well. They're really nice, and only time will tell how well they hold up. But for the price, I said I'm going to take a chance, and I am not disappointed by any means at this point. But I will follow up on this once I hit like 1,000 rounds of running and gunning and maybe doing a class or two. I'll go ahead and follow up not only with the rifle but with the mount. Moving on to the last piece is my backup iron sights. Now these backup iron sights, some people might recognize them. They are Magpul's M-Bus Pro line, which I think are some of the best on the market. They're definitely one of the best on the market. They're a little pricey, but you know what you're getting with them. Full metal. They lock in place essentially, like you could just flip them up, flip them down, but the detents are very, very positive, and you actually have to apply some force to lift them up and flip them down. They do have in the rear the same like you would a normal, so you have your low light and then your, I guess you would say distance. So you focus your eye more, and then on the front sight, your front blade is actually wider on one side and thinner on the other side, so you can set it up however you want. Thinner side obviously to be more accurate, and the wider side to be quicker with target engagements. So that is my rifle, LWRC M6-IC, and my configuration. And to close this out, I'm sure people want to know how it shoots. Well, from the 35 rounds that I shot, just zeroing it, it shot very well. It's very smooth impulse, a very consistent ejection pattern at about the 4 o'clock position. And the smoothness of the recoil impulse is, in my opinion, is going to be contributed to mid-length coupled with the H2 buffer. So, and it shot lights out. When I did my final zero with PMC X-Tac XM193 55 grain stuff, all 3 rounds were touching. So there you have it. I will follow back up on this rifle after I've put about 1,000 rounds down the pipe and give a full review, not just an overview. But so far I really like this. From my experience with LWRC, I do recommend them as a company overall, because I know what I'm getting between quality and the company itself, and it's just a really nice setup, man. I think this is a hair under 9 pounds, or right at 9 pounds altogether, so it can be a little, some people might think that's heavy, but for years I carried a 249, so this is more than enough for me. I'll be fine. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. If you have any constructive criticism or how I can do better with the video, I'm always open to it. You know, you guys are the ones that are utilizing this and taking it in, so if I can do anything to make it a little bit better for you, I will do it. And just be safe out there. Hope you have a good one, and I will catch you in the next video.